Hello everyone, my name is Dorian and welcome to Watkins Glen booth. We are with the BMW M4 GT3 doing a track guide for VRS and GT3 fix. This should apply nicely for both, same track conditions. If you guys enjoy it, please leave a like, and if you want to see more of it, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you think, how can I do better, stuff like that, and maybe jump over in my Discord as well. There's a link in the description below. I'm just going to show you guys the lap real quick, and then we're going to go over it corner by corner. See you guys on the track. Okay, so we're coming up to turn number 1. Let's look for a braking point. It's going to be right past the 300 here. So basically the 300 is your friend. If you brake right at it, you'll never miss the apex. And you know, when you get used to the track, try to stay a little bit more. Maybe brake at the 290, 280. So at this point, I was braking right around here. Let's call this the 260-ish. And I put brake pads on high. That kind of helped with that. I don't like running brake pads medium. If you run medium, maybe braking a little bit earlier would be good. Braking to around, I would say 75%, all the way down into third gear. And the trick with this corner I discovered is to just turn in as late as you dare. That's the right thing to do. You want to turn in the car as late as possible, because the later you turn in, the earlier you can be on the throttle. So I'm trail braking all the way into it. Let's see my turn-in point here. Not a real visual marker, but right around here is when I'm going to start. As soon as I put in third, I'm going to start to turn in. As you can see, it's simultaneous, so the more turn-in I give it, the less brakes I'm using. Trail braking into the apex, and I'm trying to utilize this dip where all this camber is, all this rubber, and to get a really good exit out of it. So I'm already back on the power at this point. So it's as early as I can, putting my right tire right around here. You don't want to clip it too much. You don't want the high part of the curb. You just want that low part or this black stuff right around here. And pretty much 70% right off the bat, or even 80%. And from that point on, I'm just squeezing it back to 100%. And I'm committing from this point on the whole way through. Letting the car run wide. I've seen people go way wider and it works well for them. It doesn't work well for me. If I go too wide here, I just can't put the power down. The car slides out. It's about mid-corner speed. I'm kind of compromising my mid-corner speed here so I can be very early on the throttle. So, you know, to each his own, find your way, but this is my way. Flat out, clipping this grass just a tiny bit is fine. Any more than that would be an off track. You can short shift into fourth if your rear end is sliding out on the exit here, so that might be useful. And from this point on, I'm just hugging the curbs, nice and easy. Nothing special about it. And into the bus stop. So we're gonna brake right at the 300 again. We got the end of this railing here. That's also a very good indication of when you want to start braking. But what you'll see here is something that's a bit unorthodox. As soon as I start braking, I'm gonna start to turn in the wheel just a little bit to put the car in the right direction, because it's very difficult to turn in late here. You want to start to turn in early. You want to initiate that turn very early to make sure you clip the first apex as much as you can, because that's going to dictate your speed throughout the bus stop. Already trail braking. My peak brake pressure was around 60%, let's say. And pretty immediate release. As soon as I put in first, moving into trail braking, looking for the apex, and this is about as much as you can cut it without getting off track. As I mount the curb, I'm going to let the car go neutral just for a little bit to make sure the back end doesn't step out, it doesn't get too upset. Let it settle down after landing from the curb, because you can see there's a big bump here. But as it lands, I'm going to dab the brakes again, make sure I got some weight in the front so we'll turn left nicely. And I can keep a tight line on this double left-hander here. You don't want to miss this apex. I missed it just a little bit. You want to mount this curb as much as you can. This one right here. So you can have a nice straight line on the exit. In terms of when I put in the throttle, let's say the halfway point of the bus stop. So right around here, I'm going back to the power. I'll stab it to around 65-70% and then squeeze it gently. Now, at this point, I'm at 100%, and from this point on, technically, you want to stay flat. You want to keep it flat out 100% the whole way through. I did lift again, as far as I remember. Just a slight lift as I grazed the second apex. You can see right here. That's because I was afraid the car will get upset. Probably wasn't necessary. You can definitely try not lifting here, because I don't think it was necessary. I was just a little worried. I was having a good run, and I wanted to keep it that way. It didn't cost me too much time, and actually helped me on the carousel on the big right-hander. We'll about to see that in a second. So you want to graze this apex just a little bit on the grass, and just take the car diagonally to the outside and start rotating at this point. As this tarmac changes colors, this different surfaces here, that's initially your initial braking point, lifting point. I lifted earlier than that, so I could keep more throttle into the corner. So that's why it helped me. So I lifted early, but I had plenty of traction coming in, so I didn't have to lift too much here. You can see I'm modulating the throttle quite a lot throughout the corner. I don't think I used the brakes at all. It's okay to, dab the brakes just a tiny bit if you're carrying more speed than I have, just to feel a little bit safer. See, all the way down to like 5-10%. And then squeezing it back up. So 50, lifting again, making sure the car is rotating. As I put it right around here, this is where I know I'm kind of more safe, and I know I'll make it through the exit. So I'm going back to the power nice and gradually, 40, 50, 60. And then when I feel like the car is planted, back to 100%. And from this point on, I'm going to stay committed. Let the car run wide, start opening up the wheel, using this curb on the way out, and you're through. Now, let's look for a braking point here. Basically, I don't know, let's call this around 25 meters before the color variation here. Right around here, 20 meters maybe. And what you want to do is the same with the entry for the bus stop. You want to brake and start to turn in very early. You can see very subtle movements in the wheel, because I already want to put the car into the left side of the corner. That's where the grip is, and that's going to prevent the rear of the car just snap and drift throughout this corner. It's very easy. I got really frustrated when I tried to do this lap. I kept losing the backhand, and the best way to prevent that is just to turn in early and just hug the inside the whole way through. I would say peaking at around, let's say, I don't know, 60, 65%. With medium pads, maybe a little bit more than that. Excuse me. Downshifting into third. Trail braking. And putting the car exactly where I want it, which is right here. I want to hug the yellow line, and as that happens, I'm going to release the brakes fully and let the car be neutral for a little bit, just waiting for the point where I feel safe to go back to the power. And when I do, it's going to be very aggressive. So from this point on, I'm going to commit. I'm stabbing it to around 70 and then squeezing it back to 100 and committing from this point on, letting the car go wide. It's actually fine if you kind of clip the grass here just a little bit, but make sure your wheel is not turning too much because you could lose the backhand. But it's not necessarily an off track. You can maybe try to take advantage of that sometimes. So we have the 300 here, the 200 and the 100. It's going to be past the 200, way before the 100 though. So right around here, let's call it the 160, 170. Peaking very, very high because it's a short braking distance. I want to make sure the car slows down. Into third gear. You can see I'm starting to release it as I turn in more and more. I want to keep the car on the right side of this strip of tarmac. So maybe my right tires will be right around here, right in it. That's where all the rubber is. Trail braking into it. At some point, I'm just going to release the brakes, let the car turn in. And at this point, I'm going to ask the front tires to do a lot of work. Going back to the power very, very gently, and then to around 60, 75%, anywhere in that range. And as I want to put, also important thing, this is sort of your apex. So when you're hugging the yellow line here as it merges with the strip of tarmac, you know that if you put your front of the car, the front right around here, you know you're completely safe on the exit. That's a really good indication. 75%. As I go back to 100%, you can see immediately opening up the wheels. So 75%, I'm still turning in very hard, over 90 degrees. As I go back to 100, I'm opening it up and I'm using very little steering, just letting the car go wide naturally. I'm not sliding the fronts or the rears and using all of the road that's available to me all the way to this white line. You can even use just a little bit more than that. And we're through. Looking for another braking point here. It's going to be right past the 200. Basically, the 200 is a very good indication. Every time you brake here, just try a little bit more, see where you can brake. So let's say right now, braked at the 180. Peaking very high, 80%. Downshifting all the way into third. Do not use second. There is no second gear on this track for this car. Doesn't put the power down well, and you lose a lot of corner entry speed. So all the way into third, our turn-in point is going to be right before the end of the white line here. We're not looking for the apex too early. So we're kind of keeping the left side of the car on the strip of tarmac. Right side is right around here. So our middle is right about this line. And again, we have a lot of camber, so we're going to utilize it to be very early and very aggressive on the power. A tad too aggressive, if I'm honest. If I waited with 70% just a little bit while longer, like at this point, if I stayed on it for, I don't know, a tenth or two longer before I try to go back to 100%, would have been better. But I tried to go too early, and that caused me to lift again. So you don't want that. You want to be able to commit. So if you just wait just a tiny bit longer and then commit to 100%, the car will stick and it'll be fine. Letting the car run wide. Using the curb on the way out. Back to 100% here. And we're through. I don't think I lost too much time, but it's definitely safer and better for the tires if you wait just a little while longer. Now, in terms of a braking point here, there isn't one. So you're going to have to kind of guess. A good indication, though, is this kink. This little change in direction in this white line. You want to brake after it, but that kind of signals you to get ready. So as I cross it, at this point, I'm going to start braking. We're braking uphill, so very short braking distance. Staying in third gear. You're using the RPM to kind of slow the car down even more, to shorten the brake distance. So don't short shift into fourth or shift up into fourth here thinking, you know, it'll give you a little bit more speed. Stay in third, it'll help you under braking. Peaking around 50-55%. Immediately into trail braking, turning in early. I don't want to take too wide of an approach here. I want to find the apex. kind of an imaginary apex. Let's call it this part right here. And you can see I'm already releasing the brakes fully and slowly squeezing back the throttle. So 50, 60, hesitation, waiting for the grip, opening up the wheel. And as I open it more, I'm going back to 100%. Trying to make sure I do not clip the grass here. There is no way out of it. And for this corner, I'm just going to lift. And it's going to be a pretty aggressive lift. You want to start to turn in before the 100. Staying in 4th gear. You're going to lift pretty late. The more throttle you'll keep in, the more stable the car's going to be. But you will get understeer on the exit. So it's kind of a give and take here. But you got to keep some throttle in, or else the car will have a tendency to lose it. Definitely don't need to brake here or anything like that. Even under draft. Just maybe lift a little bit more. And we're looking for... Technically, we're looking for this apex, but I'm already going to be on the inside because there's plenty of grip. Just make sure you don't clip the grass too much here. You can mount the curb a little bit. It's not going to be too much of an issue, but a perfect line here, you're not going to clip it at all, or maybe just this part of the curb, just right here. Very hard to aim for that, especially since you're carrying so much speed. So, you know, it's fine the way it is right now. It wasn't too bad. Going back to 100%, had to lift, tiny bit aggressive here. So, you know, I was worried about catching the grass. A lot of corrections. You can see it's not an on-off car. That's not my driving style. I'm always making small corrections. Probably not technically correct. It just works for me. So, you know, you don't have to lift again. Definitely will find a way where you can just commit to 100%. It's not a perfect lap. I'm just doing my best here to give you guys a decent time and the right lines, the right braking points. So you have the tire wall here on your left, and that's a very good indication of when you want to start braking. So you can see I'm already starting to lift. Hold on there, buddy. You can see I'm already starting to lift even before it disappears from my field of view, and I'm going to start braking slightly after it. Not a hard braking point at all, 40% for a very short period of time, immediately into trail braking. And I'm looking to point the car into this apex right here. And as the car is pointing in the right direction, I'm already back on the power, squeezing it to around 60-65%, and then again squeezing it like progressively back to 100. Letting go all the way to the outside. And we're through. That will give us a 146.861. Hope you guys enjoyed the track guide. If you did, please leave a like. If you want to see more track guides, then maybe subscribe to the channel. And definitely let me know in the comments what you think. Could have done anything better here. What are you doing here that's different than mine? That's potentially could have improved my lap time or other people's. Share your tips and tricks in the comments. It's awesome to see. And yeah, just let me know in general. Do you want to see more GT3 content? I'd love to hear about it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.